Okay, it is quarter of, and I generally like to get started on time because tonight will not be that long, probably about a half hour or so. Um, what I will be doing is, for people who do not make this, I do record all these and then upload them to my YouTube site. And generally that evening or early in the morning, I'll have the link out for people who are not able to attend, and they're able to watch it going forward. So what I do, I want to welcome everyone to EDUC 845, Discovering Your Source of Leadership, doing a deep dive into the concept of theory U, so moving from what you learned in 800 to really begin to look at who you are as a leader. And also I want to welcome the new 800 people who I did not have last quarter, and welcome back to you guys who I worked with last quarter in 800. So I'm going to just take you through, first of all, the first thing I want to talk about. Now, you guys who had me last quarter know this, but I just want to really introduce myself to the new cohort. So there I am a long time ago on North Warren Street in Trenton, New Jersey. And there's the famous bridge. And as I always say to people, Trenton makes, the world takes, and here I am. So this be me. And I have just give you a little bit about myself in terms of my experiences over 47 years in education. And so that gives you kind of a little bit of an idea. I worked in the Catholic school systems out in Pittsburgh. I was in a rental school district as the director of counseling services, and then the curriculum director. Reynolds is up in Mercer County, which is close to the border. Youngstown is across the border, Sharon, Greenville. If you're familiar with Pennsylvania, western part of the state, that's where the rental school district is. Then I migrated to Eastern Lancaster County School District, which is in New Holland, Pennsylvania, where I still reside. So this is my home office where I work out of. And there I was the assistant superintendent. And then I migrated to Norristown School District. I was assistant superintendent there. So I was the acting superintendent. Then moved to Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, where I was a director of curriculum instruction. And while I was there, I was on loan to the governor's office, Tom Ridge's office of information technology. And I don't know how many of you remember, or you were as professionals then, or you were still in school back in the late 90s. There was a project called Link to Learn. And Link to Learn was Ridge's idea of creating the Pennsylvania Educational Network, because at that time, technology was beginning to be looked at. The internet was starting to come into play. People were beginning to wonder how we're going to utilize this in our school districts, et cetera. And my role was the project manager for Shared Vision. And what I did was I basically would look at the concept of trying to get school districts and communities and businesses around the country, or the state, to begin to come up with plans on what they were going to do. What's kind of interesting about it, maybe if you do have some interest, because I do see that I do have Buck does remember Link to Learn, so that's good. But the stories that we got them to generate. So if you think about what you learned in 800, particularly around visioning, it's kind of interesting that when you read these stories even today, they still even make sense for what these communities around the state felt we could do. So maybe over the 10 weeks, I might share some of those with you because they are quite interesting. Then I became superintendent of Morrisville School District, which is a very small school district in Bucks County, which is even more bizarre because it's right across the Trenton Makes the World Takes bridge, links it. And I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I would come back, to that area. And then I ended up at Northwestern Lehigh School District as superintendent. And then after I left superintendency after 31 years, enough was enough. I then have now been at Drexel for almost 10 years. And I was one of the co-designers of this EDD program. So those of you who did not have me last quarter, I just wanted you to get a sense of who I am. And also you see, I don't use the word, oh, I'm your professor, I'm your teacher, etc. I call myself your learning facilitator because my job basically is to create a learning space where you are both teacher and learner. That's why I put you together in teams, etc. And my job basically is to fill that space with a lot of information, get you to interact with that information, and to really become a learning team. So you guys who had me last quarter know that that's something I go after and will continue to do that. Those of you who are coming in for the first time to interact with me, I just thought that's important for you to know who I am and what I'm about. So that's my interview, to you. I did, those of you who are in the new to me, you did send me information about who you are, so I have that information. And probably during this quarter, I will be meeting with each one of you one-on-one, just to have short conversation about who we are. The other group that I had last quarter, I might do that if we have enough time. If not, I'll probably pick it up again if you guys have me in 801 or in 802. So that's what I'm about. And so what I want to now take you into is what this course is all about. So you have two books. You have Theory U book, the second edition, and you have the Gallows book. And an optional book, if you really like Sharmer's work and really want to get into it, his latest one is called Leading from the Emerging Future. This idea of eco to ecosystems, economics, it's kind of an interesting concept, and we will touch upon it as we go through Theory U. The Theory U book is the main book where the content's coming out of. And the Gallows book, if you download it, the teams that you're in, each team has a responsibility for X number of chapters. Chapters are not really long in here. And then probably the 5th week or 6th week, we might just have a gathering where we'll sit down and just share the information that you're reading in the Gallows book. The Gallows book will give you a broader view of what leadership is about, coming from many of the, quote, gurus of leadership development. Mainly, like people like Warren Bennis and in that type of ilk. And it will help you to begin to deepen an understanding of how other people look at leadership and to look at yourself, okay? So those are the main books. And then you'll notice every week that I have podcasts, series of books that are there, or other types of articles, and a lot of videos that you'll be exposed to look at. So that is the main focal point of your material. What I'm going to suggest is for you guys to mute your sound because I'm getting feedback from some people on the recording. So if you can mute, I would appreciate that. So, going back again from 800, just so you get a sense of what everything is about. Well, if you remember the iceberg in that discussion about the events, patterns and trends, systemic structures, and mental models, that's a pretty good format for thinking about the structure of what goes on inside of a system. And that to me is a very important concept. But the other side of it is, as you move forward in this program, it's also a pretty interesting way to think about discovering your dissertation subject, where you begin to think about the problem that you might want to explore or research. So that becomes the event level. Then you start doing the research in terms of your literature review, looking at trends that support the underlying principles that are going on. Then you begin to look at the systemic structure of how you're going to organize your research. And then finally, being able to surface the mental models of who you are as a researcher. But more importantly is that what are the underlying assumptions that relate to the development of your research? So I also want you to think about this framework of the iceberg as a way of thinking about how you will do research when you get into, excuse me, 803 and 810, your introductory research courses. And then when you get into 835, 836, and 837, which will take you into a deeper dive into both qualitative and quantitative research methodology. So just want you to, keep these things together, because you're going to see that the core courses build on each other. So with that in mind, what happens now is in 845, we now begin to superimpose the U on top of it. And what the U is all about is getting you to really increase your awareness as a human being, but also to increase your awareness in terms of the role of being a leader. And regardless of whether you're in the top of the pyramid or you're throughout the organization, that your ability to sense something, to transform perception becomes very important, which then leads into this concept of presencing, which allows you to transform yourself and others in order to transform action, to bring about change. So that's sort of the overview of what Theory U is about and why we put this in here. And it will also help you to develop your ability to do interviews at a deeper level, which will be extremely important in understanding research and collecting data during research. And you'll see that as we talk about what your assignments are. So this hopefully, begins to get you to see the connection between what you did in 800, when you think about 804 from the nature of evaluation of programs. Now we're going to do that deeper dive into, what leadership is about, what sensing is about, and how do we really begin to articulate the change process, particularly from what you read both in Heifetz, in Linsky, and in Russell Acuff's material. Okay? So at any time, you have any questions or anything, jump in or, put something up in the chat room. I will monitor that also. So the important stuff, the assignments. So again, those of you who had me for 800 know that reflective conversations are extremely important. So part of your responsibility as a team, of which hopefully you downloaded your team list, of which is part of your reflective team, is the reading assignments also. So I want you to meet weekly, as many times as you can, in a format of your own. You can use any chat session or whatever. I will put up by tomorrow in Collaborate Teams. So if you want to meet in the Blackboard Collaborate, you can, or in Google or any other format that you want to use. But part of your responsibility of learning is to work in the reflective teams, talking about what you're looking at in the different videos, what you're reading, etc. So that is your responsibility. If you want me to ever come into any of your conversations, just let me know. And if I can, I will, depending on my schedule. So that's yours. So basically you get 10 points, do that. But my expectation is, as doctoral students, that is part of your responsibility. So the very important component and activity of this will be the interview of a leader. And so this is going to be worth 30 points for you. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. But what you're going to do is, as you begin to understand what it means to go down the U, what you're going to do is an assignment, really, that's going to have you pick a leader that you know and to do a deep interviewing process. And so on or before midnight on February 5th, you're going to let me know that person in position that you're going to do the interview. But you cannot start this interview until we've gone through the process and you receive the the format for doing that. And as I say in your syllabus, that you cannot start this interview until after the February 7th Zoom. But this is a very, very important component. I can tell you that your colleagues in past courses have thought, oh, this is going to be pretty easy to do. But once they got into this and started following what the procedure is based on Theory U, they found it one of the most difficult assignments to do. And again, it's designed to help you to really understand what empathetic listening is about, which again is a very, very important skill as a researcher when you do interviewing to collect data for your study. So that's that assignment, the interview of the leader. I'll obviously have a lot more to say about that as we get into the next couple of weeks. Then the next assignment will be a Collective U project, which will be due on March 16th. And I'll talk about this a lot more. And again, I should have changed that because we have 2 online classes, not a Philly class. So what's going to happen is that you're going to, within your teams, your team will create a learning space that's going to allow your team to demonstrate your understanding of the concepts of Theory U. And I'll have a lot more information about that as we get into this. But the important thing about this is that the team you're in, that your reading team and your reflective conversation, that will be your team that you'll do this assignment. So those of you who had me before, I believe I kept your teams together that you had in 800, and obviously I did not know how you guys were set up in the other class. So hopefully the teams that I created for you do make sense. So that will be that project. And again, you'll get more information as we go along. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that this particular assignment will be your end product. And then I'm going to have you do a short academic paper so I can start getting a handle on your, quote, scholarly writing, to begin to see particularly how you are utilizing APA, because that is one of the things that I find that even though you think you know how to do APA, a lot of you need a lot of work on that, need to keep thinking about it, and the more you practice with it, it's going to help you later, particularly when you get into the writing courses. So what you're going to do is to do a, kind of a small paper, not a large paper, that will get you to explore your thinking about where your leadership has emerged over these 2 classes, starting with the 800 and then into Theory U. And so really what I want to get a handle on is to see how you have been developing from the very first week of this program and the 2 courses you took in the fall, and now how the courses you're taking this quarter, but particularly 800 and 845, are influencing your paper. And I want to see how you begin to utilize this concept of scholarly writing. So again, it's to help you to start developing your writing style and to begin to expose that so I can give you feedback on that. Now, if you notice, I have that in terms of it's due anytime between February 27th and March 19th. So again, giving you some framework to put those things together. As you get into it, you might ask questions about it, talk to your colleagues about it, share information within your teams. So that is that particular assignment. So pretty straightforward, etc. So one of the things, and this is mainly for the group that I did not meet meet with last quarter, one of the things I want you to think about is that one of the underlying concepts of this program is to help you to really become what I'm going to call the transformational leader. In reading some of your expectations for this course, particularly the ones that came out of the 800 course that I did not teach with you, that a lot of you are hoping to go into a deeper dive into this. And I thought, and I forget who told me that particularly, this focus of leadership, not from a male point of view, but, how do females think about leadership? Is there a difference between there? Are there commonalities about that? I thought that's kind of an interesting perspective to look at, and that we should talk about that. As you'll see, many of the people who write about leadership are males. So what I'm hoping to have for you is a lot of the female voices that are beginning to emerge who are running companies, so you can begin to see what this is about. But what it all centers around something that has influenced me greatly from a book that was written back in the 70s. I'm wondering how many of you have remembered this book or have heard about this book, The Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And what it's really about is, if you think about what you learned in 800, particularly about mental models, and if you want to make change in your organization, whether it be in K-12 environment, higher ed environment, or in any type of organization, if we do not change the rationality that built the factory in the first place, all we're going to do is simply produce another factory. And quite frankly, over my 47 years of looking at, quote, reform in education, all we continue to do is continue to build the factory. We might change the rooms inside a little bit because of the technology, but the basic structure stays the same. Schedule, curriculum, etc. So one of the things, I want you to think about is, and will constantly challenge you, is what assumptions are you bringing to the table about the nature of schooling and learning, and how does the physical structure impact that? So again, this quote to me is rather important, and one that's going to underpin a lot of things that you'll be looking at in Theory U. So with that then, just to give you a quick overview, again, I'm doing a lot of talking now, but the reason for this, I just want to set the context for you, is that really what you see here is that this is going, over the next 10 weeks, give you the tools to really begin to look about collective change, both within your own sphere of influence, but also to think about it in much broader sense of change as it relates to community, as it relates to nation, as it relates to the world. So really what it talks about then is new realities that are more in line with truly surfacing our deepest aspirations, both individually and collectively. So this is one of the reasons that we chose Theory U as a major component to your leadership development. And then with that, what happens then is that, again, when you think about deep change, and we're talking about structural change that creates new learning environments, or creates new work environments, or creates new relationships within communities, or relationships among states, or whatever, that the greater the changes, the deeper the change, the more new learning has to take place. And as Heifetz and Linsky has really pointed out, is that for you as a leader who's initiating that, the greater the danger is to those that lead, because more and more people want to get you, because they want to keep the status quo, or they want to keep things the same. So this is a very important concept that comes out of 800, but it also will help you to keep focus on what the purpose of Theory U is about, and as we look at that. And then really, so the basic principles that are going to underlie this, and if you've started reading Theory U and you started looking at the videos, is that really what we're really beginning to look at is this ability to look at relationship building, within the system, how people interact. If you remember Peter Senge, and he talks about that he hated the concept, even though he started it, of systems thinking. He said the word, systems thinking really got misused, because really what he's talking about is how do you create the quality of relationships among people, and that what Sharma begins to get you to look at is that the quality relationship really depends on the quality of your awareness within a system and getting people to understand their own awareness of how we operate within any organization. And that's going to be the challenge for you. That's going to be the challenge for the type of leadership that is going to be necessary to navigate the complexity of the world in which we're moving into, and particularly as educators, on how you're going to design systems so our kids will be able to function in the 21st century, but as I've said to many of you in the past, also in the 22nd century. Because a lot of kids, those of you who are in K-12, particularly the elementary level, you're preparing kids to live in the 22nd century. So think about that as a type of process that we have to look at. And so we constantly have to keep asking ourselves, going back to that Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance, is, are our structures robust enough in order for that to happen? And so Theory U is going to give you a deeper dive into that to begin to understand that. So that's what I wanted to throw out at you. So I'm open now to any questions that you have about the structure of the course, anything that I've said, anything that you have on your mind related to this right now. So I'm zipping it. Questions, concerns, clarifications? So I'm watching you talk on the telephone. That's pretty good. I like that. So anything at all? Questions about the weather?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Are you going to give us a copy of the slides that you just went over?
They should be up there right now.
Oh, they should. Okay, because I went through. I didn't see these particular ones, but maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I put them up probably about 25 up.
Okay, that's why. All right, perfect.
They're in a PDF format.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. So as I said, this is being recorded, and for those who could not make it, because we do have a couple colleagues who, as I said in my voice announcement, live in different parts of the planet. So obviously 6:45 does probably not work well for them. So we'll have to figure that one out. So that's it. I mean, if you really don't have any questions, that's fine. Hopefully this is pretty clear to what you're doing. You know what's going on there. You know what the team process is all about. Every Sunday morning, you will get a voice announcement with a weather report from either Cape May, New Jersey, or New Holland, Pennsylvania. So who knows?
I have one more quick question.
Yes.
In terms of the optional readings,
Yes.
how important are the optional readings if we don't always get to them?
It's up to you. They're there to help embellish or to broaden your thinking. You know, they're there to help you, move forward, as you go along, thinking about maybe what you want to do in terms of your research. So they're there for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
So, Stephen, you're still working there, huh?
I am.
Every time I see you, you're there in that office.
Yep. Got to catch up on the paperwork.
Okay. All right, so I'm not going to keep you guys on. It's crazy to keep you on, so I'll just So that's it. So at any time you have questions, you have my email address, you have my Twitter account, you have my telephone number. So feel free to contact me at any time. And as I said to you, once your teams get up and running, if you want me to come in every once in a while, I'm willing to do that. The other thing is, I want you to think about this. What I've decided to do is to have the Zooms collectively with both classes. Now, if that works out fine, we're going to leave it that way. If not, I'll separate the classes out and we can do separate Zooms because it'll give you maybe more time to talk to me. So think about that, maybe after we do a couple of these, and if you want me to separate them out, because the information will be the same in both. So I'm just trying to reduce the amount of time you guys have to spend given with whatever your other classes and the responsibilities of your other class. So that's up to you. If some of you feel, I'd rather have these separated out, just let me know and we'll see where we go from there. But the majority of you are okay doing the two classes together. We'll do it that way. Okay? So I'm going to stop the recording at this point right now.